Hello everyone. First part of the video looking at Einhander. As you'll previously remember from the video earlier on last month, I did a poll which pitted Einhander against Don Patchy, Battle of the PS1 shmups, and Einhander won by I think it was 10-7, something like that. So I'm going to take a look at that game now. Don Patchy will get its time in the future. So without further ado, I'll do a little bit of background on the actual the game itself. So the game was released on the PlayStation 1 in Japan, 1997. Got a North American release as well in '98. Unfortunately, didn't get a European release, which it's a bit of a shame, really. It took me let's have a look. 12 years to get a copy of this game, because I remember when it was reviewed, it got really good reviews in the magazines at the time, and I've always been interested in shooters and thought it looked awesome. And this was long before the days of me doing any kind of import gaming, so I was absolutely blown away by what I saw. But as I say, only relatively recently I actually got a chance to play the game itself. I'm not sure why it didn't get a European release, to be honest. I know that Square now are quite kind of good at releasing a lot of their Japanese catalogue in the West, because they realise there's quite a lot of money to be made in English-speaking countries from their games, because the games are quite universally loved. They sell ridiculous amounts. But I think the picture around about the time that Einhander was released was slightly different, because I think that Einhander was a bit of a risk by them. They were going into a market that they'd never they were never in before, the shooter market, and they've never been into since. It's almost like it was some kind of, I don't know, some kind of technical exercise or something to see if they could actually make a shooter. But unfortunately, European gamers missed out on what is a very good PS1 shooter. The game's it's a horizontal shooter, and it uses a 2.5D view as well, where the individual kind of everything in the game is basically made out of polygons, but you see them from a side-on view, so they look 2D until there's a shift of perspective, which happens quite a few times in Einhander. Has to be said, it just kind of makes things a bit. It does make things slightly more interesting, and a bit like R-Type Dimensions. There's a few viewpoints like that where it goes to an almost isometric viewpoint, but it kind of adds drama to some of the scenes, and the game's kind of based almost around set pieces in that kind of like old school fashion, where when something quite dynamic happens, the camera shifts, and it kind of, it I don't know, kind of enhances and kind of underlines areas of the game, and makes them just a bit more interesting. So I won't go into the actual the gameplay mechanics. It's got quite an interesting way of playing. You've got three ships, and each ship collects kind of gun pods from certain enemies when they're destroyed, and you can attach them to different parts of your ship. And this, it's not by any means unique, and I don't believe it was the first shooter to do that. But the way that it does it's quite unique to the game, and makes the game stand out from a lot of shooters out there. But I'm almost going into review territory here, so I won't do that. The game still looks quite pretty as well. Like all those PS1 games that were kind of 3D, it's aged quite badly. When you look at 2D sprites from a similar kind of time, they don't look as bad. But that's not to say that Einhander's not a good-looking game, because it is. And the aforementioned set pieces in the game, there's some quite interesting kind of interactions with background scenery in the game that add just loads of character to it. So yeah, in short, I'm going to look forward to reviewing this game. As I said, it's quite unique. Much as I love Don Pachi, which this game went head to head with, I think that this one's going to be more interesting to review, because there's quite a bit to the game. There's quite a bit of meat. So without further ado, let's have a look at my copy of the game. So there we go. Really kind of iconic, subtle cover there. So yeah, it's got an insert there. The OB card, obviously. Sorry, I haven't got a spine card with this one, but again, I'm not that precious about my PS1 collection. It's the same as my Saturn one, to be honest. My Saturn shooter collection, if it's got a spine card, it's nice. If not, it's not the end of the world. As long as I'm paying a nice price for it, I don't care. This one was copy of Einhander was less than £10, including postage and packaging, so I can't really kind of complain with that. As usual, we got a lovely full colour art book. They kind of put our they put our versions to shame, to be honest. And yeah, having kind of crappy standardised box for UK PAL games. Again, you don't have to do anything extraordinary with a lot of the Japanese games. They've got the PS2 logo in the corner. Normal. There we go. Normal, CD box. What more do you want? When you look at these things, they get all battered and twatted, and look at that there. Yeah. No comparison for me. Same with Saturn, but that's another bugbear of mine. So yeah, I will see you in part 2.